Welcome to the Rich Auntie Podcast. Your host, Keia Valentin, will guide you on your journey to financial freedom, business success, and a luxurious lifestyle. Get ready for expert tips, inspiring stories, and practical advice to help you live your richest life. Let's dive in.
Welcome to another episode of the Rich Auntie Podcast. I'm your host and favorite Rich Auntie, Keia Valentin. And today is a special episode. I am so excited about this episode because it is a first. This is the first time that we have a guest on the Rich Auntie Podcast. And so we are making history with this one, guys. And before I reveal to you who that special guest is, let me tell you what we're going to discuss today. So we're going to talk about how decluttering your wardrobe impacts your money mindset. Okay, I know some of you haven't seen your closet in a while. You go in there every day, but you have not seen it, right? And so what I love about the Rich Auntie Podcast is we make wealth building so relatable because I'm not talking at you, I'm talking to you. So this episode is for everyone today because we all need to get better with money. And we all wear clothes. Okay, well, I would hope so. And so we are going to discuss how your closet has been holding you back. So you can get in there, you can cleanse it, and so you can have financial clarity. And we're going to do that with the one and only Miss Taylor Green, who is the owner and creator of Wardrobe Speaks. So, hey, Taylor.
Hello. Hi. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm fantastic. Thank you.
Awesome. And so I see today, we're matching. It's giving red lips and straight hair today.
Yes.
And so, we did not plan this, but, I guess we're just in sync over there. And so, we wanted to do this in Atlanta because that's where you're based. And I'm traveling there next month for a business conference that I have. And we wanted to get together and do this live. But, unfortunately, scheduling and everything didn't, our schedules couldn't come together. But it is all good because we're going to do this live today. And so I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you do a lot. And, thank you for just impacting some of these lives today, making people better, because that's what the Rich Auntie Podcast is all about. And I absolutely love showcasing people that is also about that. All right.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Let's get into it in our episode today. All right, Taylor. So you're the owner and creator of Wardrobe Speaks. What I want you to do is tell our audience today, what is Wardrobe Speaks before we get into the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about today.
Yes. So Wardrobe Speaks is my child. It's my baby. It was born out of just me going through life and learning my own lessons. So Wardrobe Speaks is at the core is a message. It is a movement, and it is a service that teaches people how to show up for themselves and how they are showing up for themselves, and to be intentional about how they move forward in showing up about themselves.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
Yes.
And something that people don't understand sometimes is how you show up matters. Because that's the first thing we have to judge someone by, right? It's not what comes out of their mouth. It's not what they do necessarily. It's how they look, how they present themselves. And so I love that Wardrobe Speaks, speaks to that first impression of, what everybody gets when they see you. And, we always talk about this. And so my first question is, what inspired you to get into the world of style and wardrobe curation?
Yes. So this is so funny because I say wardrobe style, however you want to call it. I didn't choose it. It chose me. So even when I was a little girl, my mom would tell you a story about how I vividly remember her putting my clothes out for, I don't know, maybe I was in kindergarten, and I cried and said, I don't want to wear that. That's not what I want to wear. Went to my dad. He said I can change. So I've always had a knack for image in the way I looked and being intentional about me wanting to control that. So when I first came out here to Atlanta in 2011, started off in school, eventually transitioning into having my own business. And I started off initially styling, and that was in the forefront. I was styling some of the dancers in Atlanta, some models for their concept videos and things.
Nice.
And I ended up just helping them out, making sure they get booked for things. And I realized I started to go up the ladder a little bit and, start to get the dancers that dance behind Beyonce and Neo. And
Okay.
those people are used to Beyonce services and Neo services. So it definitely stepped me up. But what I was realizing was, man, this is not about me. Like, this is not about what I think you should wear. It always went was people really ended up telling me what they wanted to wear. And I kind of like just put a little touch on it, but they really did the work. They really did the background, but it looks like I was doing the work, but it's really them. So I said, you know what? Let me create a service. And this was in 2019 where I made the shift to create Wardrobe Speaks. And it was about more than just the clothes. It was about more than just styling. It was a message about how you show up. Like I said, I was not showing up as my best. It took for family to question if I was okay. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Am I okay? And I was, but I just wasn't showing up as I was okay. So that's when I was like, you know what? I want to send a message to people. Like, I want people to understand, like, I had goals, I had dreams, and that's actually what I was doing. I was in grind mode,
Yeah.
but you still have to take accountability for how you present, especially when you have goals and things that you want to accomplish so that you can get there faster,
I love that. I love it. And I love that you spoke to when you were a child,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like if we look at, our gifts as children and as parents, I'm a mom. And when I look at my children, I can already see their gifts. I
Yeah.
can see their
Yes.
interests. I can
Mm-hmm.
see, like, when those gears in their mind start turning,
Yep.
and when that creativity and that genius, if you call
Yep.
it, comes out, right?
Yep.
And I love that you noticed that from you were a child. And I guess, looking back, you can see that. And it's the same thing with me when I realized that, I loved wealth building
Yeah.
because I've always been that kid who was counting those dollars and managing everything. So,
Yep. It had to be
so,
you because that was not me.
Right. And we all have different gifts and talents.
Yes.
And, we could see them at the beginning. And I
Yep.
find a lot of times when people get into what they love and when they truly get into it and start thriving, a lot of the times they can look back to when they were children,
Yeah.
or a little older and see where that love developed.
Yeah.
So I love that because my mom was putting on my clothes and I was putting on whatever she put out. Okay.
Well, she said, all right, that'll work. Let's go.
Right. So I loved it. You were already like, no, ma'am.
No.
That's not what I'm wearing.
There was a specifically, and I have a picture. I had a little teacup orange dress with an orange in the middle. I said, that's the dress I want to wear.
That's the one. That's the one.
I thought I was the baddest thing walking in kindergarten with that little orange dress.
And I love that developed over time. And as you said, curating for people and following their lead on their style, not trying to put your own style on them, but, kind of guiding them through that process. And so when did you first realize the connection between what we wear and how we feel about money and success?
Well, so in 2022 was one of my best years since being in Atlanta. I was working at Saks Fifth Avenue at the time, and my goal was to become $1 million seller before I left that store. and I accomplished that goal. So
Congrats.
2022, thank you. I was very happy. And so is my bank account. So, in 2022, I achieved $1 million seller. And the way that I approached that was strategic. I knew before I got to the department that positioned me to make that million, I said, okay, I'm going to the middle floor because Saks has 3 floors. The middle floor is the main floor where everyone comes in at. It's the shoe department, which is smack dab in the middle of the store where everybody is seen. And, Saks Fifth Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia is where you meet a lot of important people.
Yeah.
No, a lot of important people come through there with, that are at the top of their game, or just, where we are or where you are, just business professionals that can afford a $1,200 shoe, So I knew, I said, you know what, when I go to try to make that million, I need to dress in a way that attracts people to me.
Absolutely.
So you have people who were dressing in ways that were just like a corporate 9 to 5, but in that space where fashion comes to mind, even if you don't have the same style, or these people, you don't have the same style as them, if you looked unique in any way, it was going to catch their eye.
Wow.
So that was my strategic plan, was I started to build my closet that reflected the message I wanted to give off while selling, so that I can get to, my number as fast as possible.
I love that. And, it brings me to the saying when they say, if you look good, you feel good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I said, and if you feel good, then you could put more dollars in your bank account.
Okay.
Because it's how you feel, right? If you
Yes.
wake up every day and you feel like $1 million, or let's say $1 billion, right? Because $1 million isn't what it used to be because of inflation.
At all.
But when you wake up and you feel good and you're just, walking in alignment with what you're looking for in life, it's just you walk differently, you talk differently. Like you say, you attract people to you that if you were looking any type of way, probably would not have been attracted to you.
Right.
And so it's so important. And what I love is that, you don't have to spend a lot of money, but you can still look like money, right? And so I absolutely love that. And you hit your goals. Like, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And, like you said, you switched it up. You just looked more unique. You looked more in alignment with the message that you wanted to give off. And how crazy is it that just by how you look, you're like a walking message?
Yes, absolutely.
It's like you're communicating with someone just based off how you look before you even open your mouth.
Yes.
And that's what you were doing. And they were like, you know what? I want to have a conversation with her, because they already felt like they were having conversations with you based on your wardrobe.
Exactly.
And so I love that.
In a nutshell, you just wrapped it up. That's literally the emotion of the person on the outside. Because what we don't think about is we're in our own bodies doing our own things, and on the outside there's people looking at us, and we're not really understanding what they see and how that's coming across.
Right.
And not only did it attract my clients to me, because at the end of the day, whoever was available, people could go to, but what happens is when I do connect with them, they're more eager to get more into what I have going on. So they want to, hey, when I say, give me your number, let me start sending you the new shoes coming out, they're very intrigued because they know I'm going to give them shoes, an outfit, a shirt with it, and they trust it.
Yes.
So not only am I just dressing for the image, but I'm also dressing for their trust.
Right.
So
right.
that's what is also going on behind the scenes of the psychology of it all.
Wow. And people like to do business with people they know, like, and trust.
Mm-hmm.
And so how you looked and how you presented yourself, like presented as someone that could help them get from where they wanted to be in their style or whatever, but they knew that you would not lead them wrong. And I absolutely love that.
And I
So
still, those clients till today, I
today,
still talk to them. So
hey, you guys are still carrying on the conversation from that first message. And I love that.
Yep.
So in your opinion, how does the state of someone's closet reflect their current money mindset?
Well, you know, I have a video on my YouTube that talks about your grind mode wardrobe, and you can always your bank account could reflect something, you know, a nice amount, and you're just in grind mode. Like you're like, yes, it looks like that because I'm grinding and not worried about wardrobe. But at the same time, it's like there is a way for you still to capitalize off your image and make more money from having, you know, looking a certain way. So I think, in my opinion, I think it's about how polished do you look or put together, not necessarily dressed up, or, you know, you got to have the best outfit on, but are you in control? You know, are your clothes super baggy, and are your, you know, you just look like you just threw something on for the day to go do your errands and things like that, which, don't get me wrong, I understand. I know, I understand this. But in the same token, there's a way to get that under control and have a little workout legging, you know, outfit to go do the errands that coordinates well. You know, there's your little two-piece sets. I love a good two-piece set, you know, and you can wear that 5 days out of the 7-day week. Okay?
Yeah.
Like this is a judge-free zone. Like you do not have to be a different outfit every day. So I think that it just, as long as you're under control, I feel like that is going to help other people see you as, like I said, have that trust. So, because you never know what can happen when you're out doing things and where you have to talk about your business. And now it's like, okay, well, what they got on? Okay. You know, people do that. Like it is that time. So I think it's just always, I think just in a nutshell, it's about control and really understanding, making sure that we just don't look thrown together. And when you have that control, I think that reflects that they have somewhat control over their finances, you know, or their life, or, you know, it reflects what's really going on inside a little bit, you know?
Yeah. Yes. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. You know, like you said, having control over, you know, it reflects that you have control over your bank account, even if you don't have it. Like one thing about my husband, I could say, is when Josh steps out anywhere, he is always put together. Okay. Like it does not matter where this man is going. And he always looks like he's on vacation. Like,
yes. And I love that about him, though, because that is him, and he does it well.
He is always on vacation somewhere. And then my sis, I have my friend, she's more like my sister. She's also always put together, Miss Pamela Pacheco. I know some of our audience knows her. And she is always on point. Okay. Now I could say for me, on the other hand.
Look, I know how some people where it hurts.
You know, and thank you for our circles, right? Because they help you level up. And so, you know, I could say for me, for a long time, you know, I think it was just like being a mom, being a wife, just feeling out of control.
Yes.
Feeling out of control. When I stepped out, and, you know, they say you take you everywhere you go, right? That's the one thing you take everywhere.
Right.
We may not take our rooms if our rooms are a mess. We may not take our kitchen, you know, but we're going to take ourselves and the clothes we have on and how put together we are. And so I agree with that wholeheartedly, because I could say for myself, it was just like sometimes the weight of just doing it all and feeling
Yeah.
out of control, it definitely reflected in when I was running errands.
Mhm.
Now, when I go other places, of course, I'm always put together, but for
Right.
some reason, it was just feeling like out of control, like you said, that
Yeah.
was affecting the way that, okay, if I just have to go for a walk,
Mhm.
or if I just have to go get groceries, you know
Right.
what I mean? I'm
Right.
like, nobody know me out here.
Right.
But
Right.
like you said, and to your point, it's like, no, you have to put it together anyway and, look like you're in control, because
Right.
that's what you're attracting to yourself. That's a part of
Mhm.
your money mindset, because it's the same thing with your dollars, right?
Mhm.
If you just spend them everywhere and anywhere and however you want to,
Yeah.
then it's the same thing as you just throwing on things and just going outside. It has to be in alignment. You have to have
Yep.
control. You have to be put together. You have to have a vision and goals for what that looks like in your bank account too. So it
Mhm.
absolutely reflects, and Lord forbid a client or someone
Okay.
sees you outside and they're looking like, oh my gosh, who is this?
Right.
This is the wealth coach. Oh no,
Right.
she looking brokey
Man.
today. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that,
Okay.
and
Right.
so
And
it's
that's
like, just
me. And it's like I'm the image. So I was like, I have to be. And so that's why I'm like,
absolutely.
let me give some people grace because I know me. But that's why I say like there was a time when I spoke to mothers, and I'm not a mother yet. Can't wait to be. But when I speak to my friends and they tell me about that process where they're like, "Who am I?"
Mhm.
After having kids and having to rebuild, and it's
Right.
like, you don't have to be perfect at all times. Just it's be on your way there.
Right. Right.
That's all we're saying. Don't give up on yourself.
Hmm.
It's not a fashion show. I'm not saying, be best dressed. I'm just saying there's two-piece sets that could go, and be worn. You can get three two-piece sets and wear that for your whole postpartum.
Right, right. And that's what I love about Wardrobe Speaks, because you help women and men as well, curate those pieces.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
yeah.
So, let's get to the next question, because when we get talking,
I know I
like
can go forever.
we're gonna go down the rabbit hole. And
But
so can you explain the emotional and psychological impact of holding on to the clothes we no longer wear or love?
man, this one is man. This is another reason why I say Wardrobe Speaks is a message and it is a movement, and that is because wardrobe is really a personal thing. It is a you thing, and it is when I say it is a you thing, we are. It all starts in the mind first.
Right.
Everybody kind of preaches that because it is the truth,
Mhm.
and when it comes to holding on to things and having just allowing your closet to just accumulate things and never letting go of things, and like you said from the last question, like how your finances and how you attach it to your wardrobe is like practice. If you're not good at leaving the house looking a certain way, practice doing that, because now you can attach money to that, and now you can say, okay, let me practice being intentional with my dollar. So
Right.
when it comes to holding on to those pieces, it's really you're holding on to ideas and you're holding on to memories, and sometimes these ideas are ideas that like you've moved on from that person,
Mhm.
that version of you've moved on from
Ooh.
these memories of
Mhm.
you. And life is all about transitioning and changing and growth and growing. I hope that you would want to grow because anything that's not growing is dead, and we know that. So
Yes,
like
yes.
anything that it's like a snake not being able to shed its skin,
Mhm.
and just staying. So when you just keep those things in your closet, you're keeping all these old dirty versions of yourself.
Right.
Like that you
Yes.
don't even want to be. You don't even want
Anymore. Right,
it. Like,
right.
you're just like, let me hold on to that dirt. All right. Let me like, no, let's get
Right.
rid of it.
I
Like
mean,
it,
some of those have holes in them as well, like, and still holding on, or they have like a spot that can't come out no more,
okay.
and still holding on.
And I know y'all got some of that because I
Right.
still got some that is in the bag. I'm getting
I
ready to
still
put in the
got some
bag.
too that I need to get rid of. Hey, we need to let go of those versions of ourselves. I agree.
Yes.
Because the version that you want to be, it's like you can't carry old things. Like they say, what they say, you can't pour new wine
Yes.
in an old skin, right?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
that's like a rule or something. And
Mm-hmm.
so I agree, like, with your clothes and all of these things, like psychologically, you're
Yeah.
still holding on to things you need to let go. You have to let go if you want to continue to walk in alignment and become the best version of yourself. And so, that new self,
Yep.
like that, yeah, you know how they say with cars, they have rear view mirrors where you can look back,
Yep.
but it's small compared to the windshield, right? Because
Okay.
we're moving forward,
Okay.
guys. We're
And I
moving
think you
forward,
said it. You said you have to. It's not an option. Like,
right?
you have to let
You
go
do.
in order to get to that. Like, have to. So,
Yes.
yeah.
I love that. Love that. So walk us through your version of a closet cleanse. Like,
Yeah.
what does that process look like? Because I know a lot of people are spring cleaning
Yeah.
and, they're taking out the old and coming in with the new. So let us know what does that process look like to do a closet cleanse?
Mm-hmm. So I have a video on my YouTube that talks about your closet being in movement. Actually I think it's on my Instagram page. But every season, like, just as the seasons change, I think that's pretty much everybody does that. As the seasons change, I go through my closet and I see what doesn't reflect the message that I'm trying to accomplish now. Like, I'm a whole new Taylor. Like, with all the lessons I've learned last year or the year previous or the season previously, what doesn't serve that message? So, and not only that, what is worn out, what which t-shirts it was their last season a couple seasons ago, things that you can't necessarily fit. It's just time to get those things that don't serve the future you out. And I kind of do that as the seasons change. So, and not only that, I also do that throughout the year.
Mm,
So as the season is going on, maybe I didn't get rid of those sandals, but as the season is going on, I'm like, man, I really do want some new ones, or these really did need to go,
right.
in that closet cleanse. So, it's an all year thing, but basically, just to sum it up, I go through at the beginning of each season. I say, what do I want to keep? What needs to go? But also, the things that I keep is also things that I want to pass down.
Mm,
I have pieces that are pieces, okay?
mm.
Like, and I may not be able to fit them all the way, but somebody gonna get this because it is fabulous. Like,
Right,
I have
right,
I have a blazer. Whew, I can't fit it, but it's getting passed down to somebody.
right, right.
So we're not giving that away.
Right, right.
So
And I'm so happy you said that because I think sometimes people hold on to the pieces and they don't want to let them go.
mm-hmm.
And they would rather give it to somebody else.
Yes.
They would rather bless somebody with that piece. And
Yes.
hopefully that person will take care of it as you did and,
Yes.
pass it on to the next person. And
Mm-hmm.
so I love that you talked about, going through things that don't fit you. Number
Yes.
one, things that they may just be worn and wear
Yes.
and tear and all of that stuff. And then the pieces you really love and you're not throwing it away, but
Mm-hmm.
you'd rather give it to someone who would appreciate it. So I love that. So go through your closets, guys. So
Mm-hmm.
what common patterns or blocks do you notice when people go through this process of cleansing their closet?
Yeah, just kind of like the previous question, when we said people not wanting to let go. So there are things from high school that we hold on to that we don't want to let go of. There's a relationship that you thought you got over, but the fact that you still have that t-shirt from him shows that it's still a little bit of trace of
Come
that
on now.
relationship in you. So throwing that shirt away will say, look, you are over this, okay?
Yes.
We did that work. It's done, you know? So some of the blockages is just not really being over things, you know,
Yeah.
and it could be other than relationships, you know, it could be certain circumstances that you went through, you know, it could have been a hard time you went through and you're like, man, I wore this that whole time, you
Oh,
know,
yes.
I wore this, you know, and I need to
Yeah.
keep that. Like, no, you don't. Like,
Right.
you don't need to keep that. You can throw it away or you can give it away.
Right.
I like to give to, I was given to the Goodwill. Then a friend made a point. You know, Goodwill is getting a little pricey, which is crazy. So I started to give to Salvation Army as of lately. And I
Okay.
give to the homeless a lot, certain pieces during the colder times. So as far as the blockages go, I think it's just people just not ready to let go is the one
Yeah.
that I see the absolute most of. So,
Yes, get rid of those relationship wear, guys. You
okay.
know, those are done and over with. Okay.
Lessons,
Oh,
past lessons.
okay. Your ex mother-in-law bought you that dress, and
Right.
you ain't on her run no more. Let it go.
Okay.
Okay.
I have one of
But
those.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes. Like, I mean, but I think a lot of people, they would let that one go in a heartbeat.
Okay.
I'm just saying. So,
Okay.
okay, so for people that, they have a hard time letting it go, right? How can they declutter in a way that is empowering instead of overwhelming?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like we want them to let it go, but how can it not feel like, oh my gosh, I'm letting this go? But no, I'm empowered. I feel empowered to let it go.
Mm-hmm. I think I really think slowing down and you know, I don't want to sound like I mock letting things go because it is a very sentimental process.
Yeah.
You know, you never know what people were wearing, what seasons of their lives they were wearing these clothes, you know,
Mhm.
and that's what's attached to them. So, you know, I feel like what can make it empowering is really slowing down and understanding, like, wow, I made it through that. I'm not still going through that. You know, I did the work. You know, we're 10 years out, 5 years out, 2 years out, you know,
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm at a place where I can say, you know what, I'm at the next level of this process. I'm gonna let this go. Even if you don't feel like you're ready, doing it anyway, doing it scared, doing it, just do it, and that will make you feel, I'm telling you, after you do it, you'll see the space. And after you see the space, it's like, wow, I feel I can now fill this space with the new me. So you're really just creating space for that new you in the future. And so just slowing down, really recognizing the moment of the piece and keeping the future you in mind, keeping the future feelings that you want to feel in mind, because that's really what we're talking about when we're talking about letting go. It's a really emotional process of letting pieces of clothing go. It may seem like it's just nothing, even when we're talking about wardrobe. People think it's just, you know, it's just nothing, but it really is something very sentimental. Like you said, we take us everywhere we go. We put clothes. If you got clothes on, then you know you're a
Yeah.
part of this conversation. You know,
Yeah, it's reflected. It's
yeah.
reflected for sure. Like, yes, anybody, everybody,
Yeah.
we all wear clothes. And like you said, I loved it that you talked about, not mocking that process,
Mm-hmm.
but going through that process, because for some people it is deeper than
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
you letting go of that jersey,
Right.
right? Or you letting go of that, something sentimental
Yeah.
value to you. And so I love that you said that. And, clearing these things, I want to relate it to how it can make room for also financial clarity and abundance as well, because it's one thing from a psychological standpoint, a mental standpoint, but how about from like a financial standpoint and, just abundance
Yeah.
overall and
Mhm.
what that looks like from clearing that, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
have you seen any real life transformations where style or wardrobe shifts like spark growth in business, income, or confidence?
Oh yeah. I and this just came at the top of my head. I was thinking like who, and I don't know this person personally. I don't know, I'm not close to her, and as once I say the name, y'all be like, oh yeah, I know. But Sarah Jakes. Um
Yes.
Sarah Jakes, I didn't start listening to her until not too long ago, last year. And what got my attention of her was the way she dressed. That's what
Mm.
caught my attention. And her titles on YouTube, really her titles on YouTube, and then her outfits too. Like I was like, oh, she's stylish, like she's not just cute, she's stylish.
Right.
So, no, her stylist is phenomenal. But um, after doing like a deep dive of her content and her messages and her sermons, I saw how she used to dress, and I wasn't even looking for that. I was looking for the word.
Right, right.
So I saw her previous, and I said, oh, yeah, she needed, it. When I tell you, you
Yeah.
can see the difference
The
in
evolution.
how she was and how styled. That's why she hired a stylist. She
Mm.
hired a stylist to take her to match the feeling she was getting by being a better and more in tuned minister.
Right.
Like she
Hmm.
got better naturally in her ministry, and she said, I need a wardrobe that reflects, how God is speaking through me.
Right, right. Yeah.
So she's a person that I feel like understood that wardrobe is going to take me to that next level. And I have another one, and it's so funny. Cardi B, when
Yes.
she was on Love and Hip Hop, and I think she was on whatever those apps where it wasn't TikTok, it was another app before that. I was like, what is this character? Like,
Right,
what's
right.
like her personality was just very out there.
Yes.
And there was one outfit, and I said, she's going far. It
Right.
wasn't even a crazy outfit. It was literally a different message from
Hmm.
what she was. And once I saw them change her message in one outfit, I said, oh, they're smart. They're changing people's mindsets about how
Yeah.
they see her.
Their perception of
That's
her.
Yep, exactly. And once
Mhm.
they said that, and this was when her first hit was out, Bodak Yellow.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
people thought that was gonna be her one hit wonder. No, once I
Right,
saw
right.
that outfit, I said, nope, she's going far. Because
I
they're smart. Like,
I know, I love that. And two great examples
mhm,
and people we all know, which is great, you know what
yes,
I mean? Or most of us at least,
yes,
depending on, if what circles you're a part of and all
right.
of that stuff. And I
Right.
love that you gave two different examples.
Mhm,
And you're right. Like even today, when I see both of them, I'm
mhm,
just like, wow, these women are some amazing women. They're, walking in alignment and
mhm,
just their perception of the message that they
mhm,
want to give. Like
mhm,
whether you like them, whether you don't like them, it really
mhm.
doesn't matter because
Right.
they're still intentional about what
Mhm.
their message is.
They're intentional.
And,
Yep.
yeah,
Mhm.
you and I were just talking the other day as I was out on my walk and I was telling
Yeah.
you about, my business conference that's coming up here in May.
Yes.
And I was just saying that, you know what, I have to come correct. I have to be on
Mhm.
point because
Mhm.
I'm standing on stages, and in front of thousands of people, and all they have at the beginning is their perception of me.
Yep.
And also, no matter what I say after they see me, if they're still stuck on
What you
what
had
I'm
on.
wearing, then they completely miss the message. So
Yep.
it's like the message goes before the message, right? Or
Yep.
goes before the messenger, I guess,
Yes.
in a sense. And so it's like, I don't want any hindrance of what I have to say, because I want to impact people. And so I love that you use those examples. And it's so important, especially for those of us who are in the public eye, in the spaces. People are going to determine whether they want to listen to us or not.
Right.
From the very first day they see
Yep.
us. And
Yep.
first impressions are very lasting impressions,
They are.
unfortunately,
Yep.
And it doesn't mean that things can't change, because like you said with Dr. Sarah Jakes, like she changed how she looked. Also, Cardi B changed how she looked as well. And so I'm sure they attracted different people to them based on just those changes. And so even in how you look, you can now touch more people, or you could appeal to more people and get your message out there to more people just by changing some simple things like your wardrobe.
Exactly.
And people really need to really think about that and place emphasis and intentionality on their wardrobe, because a lot of the times that's all we have to go off of. That's your calling card. It's like, oh yeah, when I saw her, no, she was in let's say fishnet stockings and tight leather jeans on a business stage. Let's say, for example, anyone. They're not calling you back.
No.
Any other, they're not calling you back. Like, it is what it is.
Like
I
think that was one of the points we said when we were talking about you being on stage, because I had just made a video about don't let the moment steal, don't let your wardrobe steal the moment.
Yeah.
And it was a YouTube video, go check it out, on my channel, that it talks about when people just get too, overwhelmed and they think too much about their outfit, that they completely miss like that it's about you as a person.
Right.
It's about who you are. You make the clothes don't make you.
Right.
But in the same sense, you have made a point like, wow, that's true, but also don't let the outfit steal the moment and be in the wrong outfit. And now what you're talking about completely goes over their head.
Completely. They missed it all. They missed the message.
Yep, they missed the message.
Like, they missed the message.
The outfit stole the moment.
Because you're giving two different messages at the same time. And so they're confused at this point because they don't know which message they should be listening to.
Right.
So they're like, wait, what did she say? I was hearing this. Right. But I'm sure she said that.
Because it makes you question, like,
right.
So what is your personal life like?
Right. Now they're on a whole other thing.
They're on
not paying attention.
They're not focused there anymore. And
exactly.
When you change your message to go towards something different, it just automatically makes more people intrigued, even if eventually down the line they, venture off and not, they don't invest in what you're saying or doing whatever. Man, for that time that they were there, you made some impact.
Yeah, definitely.
Cardi B, I don't care for Cardi B's message whatsoever. But in the beginning, when she switched it up, and that intrigued me. That made me feel like, oh, she's doing something different. I do like some of the things she does, but like her message in her wardrobe, it's not my favorite. But but the girl's doing her thing. Look where she went from loving hip hop to being one of the. I think her, Lauryn Hill, and Doechii are now have the number one album of the year for women.
Wow, I love it.
Please don't quote me, but I think they're the only 3 women who won album of the year or rap artist of the year, something similar. So
that's beautiful.
She's up there.
Yeah. And so spark it, so changing your outfit and your wardrobe can absolutely spark your business, growth in your business, growth in your income, and also growth in your confidence as well. And so, a lot of people, when they think about wardrobe and they think about, looking the part and being in alignment, they think they need to spend all of this money. They think they need 1 million pieces and all of that stuff. So, some people associate minimalism as well with lack. And so I want you to speak to like, how do you approach minimalism through the lens of wealth and intention?
Mm. Man, minimalism is literally just limits. Like putting having limits on your wardrobe. There's places that I want to go with my career. Right now, my wardrobe is limited right now, and I can only go with what I have, and it is what it is. Like I'm in a building stage, but I've built, so I'm good. But man, style and image and wardrobe, it has nothing to do with the dollar amount whatsoever. Please never believe that. Like, this is why people who do have a natural eye for style and fashion, like that's why that people in that industry, they go thrifting, because although thrifting is a whole bunch of junk thrown in one store, we enjoy that because it's a hunt for special pieces and we make it into something.
Right.
And that's people who have the natural eye for style and fashion. And that just goes to show you, it doesn't mean dollar amount. It literally just means imagination and fun and message and what you want to be and who you want to be and where you're trying to go. So, excuse me.
And
while different levels of fashion, have different messages. I'm not saying that that's not the case, but they have different messages. And I love a good luxury piece. Don't get me wrong. It never is about the dollar. It is always about how you style it and how then the message that you want to give off. Literally, you think that these television shows, when like the Cosby Show or the Fresh Prince, they were like, Uncle Phil was like a millionaire. You think they were wearing millionaire clothes back then for that show?
No.
Like, no, those pieces were like probably thrifted and like found, and these people didn't have big budgets. Fresh Prince was like a startup show,
Wow.
So, but they made Hillary look expensive. They made Aunt Viv look expensive. They made Carlton look expensive.
Yes.
Like, they made the whole cast look expensive, and they made Will look like an everyday guy.
Yeah.
Like, and I guarantee you they didn't have a big budget. So it's all about message.
Right.
Message, not dollar amount.
I love that. And, that's something I had to learn, because I was that person that I associated wealth with the most expensive pieces and all of that stuff. And even last year or year before last was like the first time I went thrifting. And let me tell you, I had a time. I had a time in there, because I was like, wow. Like, look at all these things and like these pieces and different things. Yeah. And it was like an adventure.
Yes.
Like, people who thrift understand, right? I mean, I'm new to the game. Yeah. But it was just like, wow, I would have spent this price on that piece. You mean to tell me the same piece,
okay,
or sometimes even better pieces that I could find, and you guys want like $3? Like,
and you go to the neighborhoods that are wealthier, man, those people throw everything away. Like, fat pieces they never worn before, like gold.
Yeah.
But
and like we always place emphasis, especially in our community, it's always emphasis on the brand and all of this and stuff like that. But come on, we got to be more intentional, like with our wealth. At the end of the day, that piece, we're going to wear that how many times and then throw it to the side and eventually get rid of it. You know what I mean? Like, you could still achieve those looks with like minimalism, like less pieces, also pieces that are less expensive. And so I encourage everybody, definitely, the thrifting.
Yes. And
try it out.
Thrifting is to some people's brains, they don't work like that. They will go in a thrift store and immediately walk out because it could be overwhelming.
Yeah.
But to your point of minimalism, I would even a capsule wardrobe, which is basically a wardrobe that is like 5 to 8 pieces, maybe 10. of pieces that you interchange throughout the whole season. So you can
Wow.
literally have 3 pair of jeans, 3 pair of shirts, a couple, like 2 pair of shoes, and some accessories, and interchange those few pieces the whole season.
Wow.
Like that, like you don't need a big old closet to have the wardrobe. People don't even pay that much attention. They really
Right.
don't.
They
You
don't.
know, and the ones that do, they looking for something that you're doing wrong because they hating. Okay.
And you know
So
what? And I love it. And that's what Wardrobe Speaks helps us curate those pieces, because I
yes.
was that person that was like, I would get overwhelmed at first. And the reason why I could go into a store and see things is because of your program, because of your
Mhm.
teachings and everything that you do. And now I know what to look for. I
Right.
know what my capsule looks like. I know,
Right.
those pieces that I need, what
Hmm.
I want to look. And, I look expensive everywhere that I go. And
Right.
people naturally assume like you spent so much money. But I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I understand now how that
Mhm.
works and how to put together pieces and what all pieces I need for the season. Like,
Yeah.
how Bridgerton, it's the
Yes.
season, right?
It's the season.
It's
Like
the
dress for the
season.
season. Like
So
don't get overwhelmed by the year.
right. It's the season, ladies
Hmm.
and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Okay. You could have your season. And so,
Hmm.
how do you advise clients to shop more intentionally and stop
Hmm.
buying filler pieces that don't serve that vision? And I know you do a lot of this on Wardrobe Speaks. So, they could just go over there and learn. And
Yep.
learn for themselves and all of that stuff. But
Yep.
just a basic overview of how do you encourage them to be more intentional?
Yeah. So I think anything that you're trying to focus on changing requires work.
Yes.
So you have to understand that yes, there is a little homework that you need to do to get to that place. And I would just start. There was a point in time I was offering wardrobe focus boards. I'm always talking about having a vision. And it sounds cliche in today's time, but today's time now more than ever is image, important, because everything
Mhm.
is becoming so digital. And look how we're doing this. Like we're literally on
I
a
know.
camera and being able to do this. So I would just say to start off with that vision, having a clear ending of where you're trying to go, knowing where you're trying to go, and then starting backwards. So I talk, like Keia said, I talk about this on my channel, on my YouTube channel, but starting backwards really means just going on the journey of you and really figuring out what you like and what you don't like, and not being overwhelmed, because like I said, this is a journey. When you go into certain stores, like our crop pants, do those look good on you? Do long, flares look good on you? Are you over crop tops?
Right.
Are you do you a certain color not look good on you because you colored your hair, so you want to focus more on this. So it's like you really got to find your new formula, and that takes time. And that process, like we just talked about earlier, is like first making that space and doing that internal work first, and
Right.
then really just diving deep into the journey of you. And as just speak on, it's none of this is about the clothes. Like the
Right.
clothes is literally magic. It's just the magic touch to what you already are doing. So um,
Absolutely.
that's another reason why I created Wardrobe Speaks, because I wanted a lot of people make people feel bad because of wardrobe.
Right.
And a lot of people experienced bullying because of wardrobe.
Yes, that is
And
so true.
to somebody who does it naturally, I'm here to tell you, please don't let them bully you over these things, because it's not that deep. A lot of people wear designer clothes for validation. They
Right.
don't wear it, they spend their rent and their important, they're not intentional with their money. They're not, being intentional with how they show up. They're wearing the same $500 shirt that they bought by mistake because they want to be validated by the world.
Right.
instead of purchasing a capsule wardrobe and spending $500 on that and showing up every day the way that they need to show up. So,
Smarter.
smarter.
Yeah.
So just in a nutshell, I just feel like you just have to do the work, and that internal work doesn't just go with wardrobe, it goes with life. Like
Yes.
this work and this intention that you're putting before you get to that destination, you can use it with anything in life. So
Yes. And
start the work.
I love that. And so, the rich auntie vibe, right? So Taylor, what does the rich auntie energy look like? For those that you who don't know, Taylor was actually the one that put together my Rich Auntie podcast photo shoot outfit. Like she styled me, everything. We went through the work, putting the pieces together. I've gotten so much love on that photo. So I know you guys love the pieces. They were all chosen, yes, by her, but also with what I wanted to look like. And so she took my vision. She made it into the beautiful photo that you see today all over my social media and everything like that. And I really enjoyed working with her because it helped me to put my style together. And so when she saw me today, and we got on and I was like, look, she's like, girl, I love this. And that I thought, you see my pieces that I'm wearing from my shoot, because these were pieces that I could wear over and over and over and over again. And so I put them with all types of stuff, but it wasn't after working with her that I understood that, okay, these pieces can be used for so many different things. And now I know what to look for because I understand my style a lot better. The look that I'm going for, the vibe that I'm going for, like when I step out, what does the rich auntie look like? Whether she's casual, whether she is going to a business conference and speaking from stage, in all aspects of life, running to the grocery store and all of that stuff. And she really helped me to narrow down on what that looks like for me and keeping in alignment with how I want to show up, what my message is. And so Taylor, I would say, what does the rich auntie energy look like in a closet? What are some staple pieces women should have to help them pull that look off?
Yeah, like I was saying in the beginning of the podcast, I think the rich auntie vibe looks like, or wardrobe looks like, control. I think anything that is aligned with wealth and money and your finances, it is all about control. And your closet reflecting that control is what the rich auntie is. So even when it comes down to how you store your pieces in your closet, everything having a place, everything having a home. I speak about this on my YouTube. Storage of your wardrobe is also a reflection of your wardrobe being well taken care of, so that you can pass pieces down, or so that pieces last even longer because they're being stored properly, they're being preserved properly. I talk about that as well. So when I think about the rich auntie, I think about control, I think about intention, and I think about you taking care of you.
Yes, absolutely. And so I love that, all about control, all about intentionality. And so those pieces should reflect that. And so everywhere you go, that should be your message if that is what you're portraying, right? And everybody has their own style. Maybe the rich auntie vibe isn't yours, maybe you want to look like, I don't know, other types of styles. Like Taylor is definitely more well-versed in this than I am. Okay. I'm just a student. I'm always taking notes. She's talking and I'm jotting it down. And so, it's whatever style you want to look like. And it's for the men too, right? The rich uncles and, the men.
Come on, uncles.
Come on,
about y'all.
Let's go. Man, when we talk about wardrobe, I'm so loving that men are being more expressive with their wardrobe because they're really being intentional too. And, they want to give certain looks and they want to have their message as well. And I love that. And so, how you dress, how you show up, my husband, his message is I'm wealthy and I'm always on vacation.
No,
You know, if I
I
had
love it.
always on vacation, even when I'm working, that would be like
Mhm.
his
And
his
that's so
his
unique.
message.
Yes, and that's like your message is whatever your message is. Like your message is not like it doesn't have to be Rich Auntie. It doesn't have to be your message, but Rich Auntie is telling you that you need a message. You
Right.
know,
Exactly.
you need
Exactly.
a message that reflects and that is cohesive with your goal, your financial goals. So,
Right. And I know we're talking about finances and everything today. I'm so excited for future episodes where we get more into other aspects of wardrobe and what that looks like in life and how it, relates and how it connects to everything else that we do. And so before we hop off here, I want to know what's one piece of style or mindset advice you give to someone that's ready to step into their next level financially and also personally?
hmm so I was thinking about this, and I think that it's really about taking yourself serious and this is about mindset. And I want you to really think about this, because Wardrobe Speaks was not only it was created from the inspiration of a friend, but it also was created because of my life experiences and what type of results I was getting in life. Like the results I was getting in life was not what I wanted. And it all was because I used to write and I used to have journal entries, and I used to think like, why is no one taking me serious? Like, and at fast forward 8 years later, I'm like, oh, I know exactly why. Because you weren't taking yourself serious, you know and I think on every level, the way you will want anybody to see you, anybody to treat you, is seriously. So before anybody can do that, I would definitely have that mindset shift in thinking of taking yourself 100% serious, pouring into you 100%. And when you do that, the wardrobe will reflect that, and it just adds the magic. The wardrobe just adds the magic.
I love that. It's just an extension of who you already are. I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely love that. And
Mm-hmm.
so, Taylor, I just want to say thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
I know you could be anywhere and doing anything, but you decided to be here with me and, us just impacting lives and bringing awareness to a space that, a lot of people don't bring awareness and intentionality to, and
Mm-hmm.
not realizing just how much this impacts so much of their lives. Your
Yes.
style, your wardrobe, how you present yourself, how you show up, and
Mm-hmm.
all of that stuff matters,
Mm-hmm.
And I am so grateful that you are in this space, that you are changing, people's minds and just bringing that awareness
Yeah.
to, what wardrobe actually means, the message, what message that you give when you step outside of your door
Mm-hmm.
every single day,
Mm-hmm.
and that message is where you carry with you everywhere you go,
Mm-hmm.
because you are who you take yourself with and the clothes on your body.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Every single day. So I thank you so much
Oh,
for
it
coming
was
on
such
here
an
today
honor.
and blessing us.
Yeah.
Before we hop off, where can our audience find you? Like, let us know, where all they can go to connect with you, to learn more from
Mm-hmm.
you, and all of that.
Yeah. So, first off, I just have to say, this was an absolute honor to be here. Like I said, Wardrobe Speaks is a message and a movement first, and I love to sit and spread the message, spread the word for people to be aware. And I learned something myself here today. So, but if you all in order to find me, you can go to Wardrobe Speaks _ for Instagram. For YouTube, and YouTube is probably where I would recommend you go, because that's where my long form videos are on my topics, and that's going to be at Wardrobe Speaks. Just that, at Wardrobe Speaks. I am also on LinkedIn at Taylor Green. But if you really want to see full videos of the content that I put out, just go to my YouTube at Wardrobe Speaks.
Awesome. Awesome, guys. So there you have it, Miss Taylor Green
Yes.
blessing us today. Go follow her on social media, go and learn from her pages because she definitely gives a wealth of knowledge and she's always continuing to put out more information and just improve on that information as she goes through this journey with Wardrobe Speaks. And
Yes.
so definitely check her out. Thanks again, Taylor. So guys, take a look at your wardrobe. Make some changes, okay? Start making those changes. And for those who want to start taking yourself seriously, like Taylor said, you want to start making those steps. She blessed us with a free resource. So I'm going to put it in the show notes and the description. It's called the Wardrobe Audit. And so you could definitely look, the link will be there wherever you're listening to this podcast, so you could start taking the action today and start becoming better. Okay. You can also schedule a consultation with her as well. For those of you who you really want to get into it, you really want to make some changes. You want to transform the way you're showing up. You want to transform your message and all of that stuff. I will also be putting her schedule link wherever you're listening to this podcast as well. So definitely check out the show notes and the description for more information. Thank you guys. As always, thank you so much for spending time with us today. Continue to grow wealthy in mind, body, and spirit. This is your favorite Rich Auntie signing out. You guys have a wonderful and blessed day.
Thanks for listening to the Rich Auntie Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Follow us on social media for more tips and exclusive content. Until next time, keep shining, keep thriving, and remember, you deserve to live your richest life. Yo.